My name is Marcos Ochoa. I'm a tattoo artist. I'm Tattoo Yoka, right here from Lemoore, California. There wasn't too many. Like I said, there wasn't too many stories of the lake. We would see pictures, but nothing really. Like my grandfather, the lake was. He never told me about the lake. He never really said anything about it. It was kind of lost, gone, and we ain't, never gonna see it again. But yeah, a lot of the stories I didn't. There wasn't nothing, no, not too many going around. To see it coming back, it was really something like can't explain it. It was something that you felt inside that was almost like ancestors coming back to visit. It was something that I never expected. Like I said, we never growing up. I lived out here all my life, and I never really. You hear about it, you see some pictures with them on a lake, but you don't really think that it was. The stories were kind of almost not told anymore. And then once that came back, once the lake came back, everything, a lot of stories started coming back, a lot of more people started coming back. It brought a lot of unity to the tribe and having some pride in something that was a natural disaster at the time. Everybody around, all the other counties were panicking. But with us, we were happy to see the lake come back. It was something it was something that we lost, that was taken from us, and a lot of us youngsters didn't know that it was taken from us. We didn't know no story behind it, and then as it came about, I learned a lot about it. I learned, I knew our tribe was one of the biggest tribes, but seeing the resources we had from that lake, I understand why, and it made a lot of sense of why they would take it from us, if they want to, you know, get rid of us. When I started getting tattoos, I wanted to get tattoos and I wanted something to represent me, but at that time, like, what I do is a lot of basket designs, and that's our traditional designs that our elders, ancestors, they created centuries ago, years ago, So bringing that back when I tattoo that helps helps me feel good to kind of put these on the new generation, so they have a placement. They know who they are. Instead of putting something they don't have no clue what it is, but this is something that our people been sharing forever, on baskets, on beadwork, everything. So to have them put that on their skin and be proud, and people know who they are when they see that, and especially like certain designs, they kind of identify our tribes. So there's different designs all through California, and then like with ours, our yoga designs, that helps them identify what tribe we're from. Yeah, we used to swim in these canals. Like we'd find a good spot that's close to the reservation, and that was our spot. That's where we would go every summer because it gets pretty hot around here. Being out here in this environment, just tattooing out in the open, by the water, with all the nature and everything, it had me kind of calm, and it had me at feeling to where it was good, because this is something that's gonna help help people understand who we are, and it just at that time, thinking about it when I was doing the tattoo, I was thinking about when the lake was full, when at the times when our people were thriving and enjoying life, and enjoying the lake, and not worrying about the daily problems, and that's what I was just thinking about, that just trying to stay in good energy, stay in good mind, just to give you some good medicine.
is Nicole Escalon. I am a cultural specialist here at the Santa Rosa Rancheria Tachioca tribe. I am also a tribal member. I manage the cultural monitors that we have. We send them to projects around the area, and what they do is they monitor any ground disturbance because most of the places that they go is really sensitive, culturally sensitive. They look for human remains and any artifacts. So if they do find stuff like that, especially human remains, we come up with the plan of action, and we work through that situation. Artifacts, when they do get brought back here, I kind of put them in inventory. I help with consultations. I feel like it was a little overwhelming for some people. Um, I think it was exciting. A lot of people showed their appreciation for it since it came back. For myself, I didn't really, I didn't grow up here on the reservation. I grew up in Fresno, so I didn't really know too much about the Tulare Lake. So once I was hearing the news of it coming back, and when I finally went to go see it, it was breathtaking. I was at a loss for words, and that excitement came back. It was really exciting for the people to see, something that was here a long time ago come back, the reawakening of it. So it was really exciting to see, and I can see the excitement with everybody else.
We are the lake. We are the people from Ba'ashi. We are Yokuts Ba'ashi, the people from Tulare Lake. The connection is we we are the lake. We are the people from it. We're the last descendants that were around it. Our ancestors did everything they could to help us remember it. And it's all it was a memory, not till a couple years ago. You it was reality for us. Yeah, we're mud duck people, but we represent the coyote because he's our protector. And then we still are Yokuts Ba'ashi. We are the people from the Tulare Lake. We named ourselves after the Tutsai because he never left the lake. All the other ducks and birds, they fly south for winter. Tutsai never leave. He never leave the lake, so we name ourselves Tutsai because we never left the lake. We stay with the water. It was a blessing, a blessing had happened. A blessing had happened not just for the people, but for the land, the environment, animals, all creators' creations. It was blessed. A couple year like last year, it was a beautiful storm had came. A beautiful storm had came and just blessed the lands and cleansed the air and took all the sicknesses and that was hurting the land and put it all in one place, and took care of it the way it was supposed to. water does have a perfect memory, but water will only go where it is allowed. You know, just like us people, we're only going to where we're allowed until something really, really bad happens. And then we all go to places that we don't care where we're allowed. Same thing with the water. Once it gets to a certain point, the water ain't going to care where you want it to. It's going to make its way there. You know, that's why we try to tell people to take care of the land, take care of the environment. Because Creator is going to let us all know that we're doing something wrong. You know, so we all got to be that part to help it better, help it get better, take care of it, you know, take care of Mother Earth. You know, she takes care of us. You know, there's no point of us not taking care of her. So as long as we could keep the water around, Mother Earth will feel better. So, you know, Pa'ashi has never gone away completely. You know, it's been put to sleep, but it reawakens. You know, it reawakens every so long. You know, once a good strong prayer gets sent, you know, and it is answered, then the lake would come back, the water would come back. We have humans today that are controlling the way the water runs, and well, last year they couldn't control it. You know, it was out of their hands. You know, Creator gave them a little more than what they expected, and you know, it was a beautiful thing to see somebody struggle to control something that they can't. You know, finally, Creator let people know that you're not stronger than it. You know, Creator is in charge, regardless on what we do. Creator is gonna have something else put in our way. You know, it's gonna have another obstacle for us to go through. It's what it's here for. You know, it's a life us natives have lived. We've lived this for years, thousands and thousands of years. You know, we've seen the drought. We've seen the floods. You know, we've seen it all. But as long as we recognize and understand that it's okay and it naturally happens all the time, you know, we're okay. Everything is gonna be all right. Just accept things when they come. You know, a natural disaster, if it comes, accept it. You know, take it with all it gives us. You know, it all happens for a reason. It's either because something's too good or something's too bad. You know, it's called a balance. You know, if it's too good, it's gonna balance it out, make it just bad. If it's too bad, it's gonna balance it out, make it good. So it usually doesn't hurt people. You know, it'll hurt feelings, but as long as we could accept everything that has been given to us and use it for the better, we'll all come out in a good way. You know, it's just if we start giving pushback on certain things that are trying to be better for certain people, you know, because it's not beneficial for you, you don't like it. It doesn't work like that, you know.
Water is life. That's where our people resided. That's where a lot of the ancestors, lived along. Where the water was, that's where the life was. And I think that's what the connection is.
Yeah, we did a little ceremony. We try to honor the lake, do the things that our people did back in the days. We just have a lot of pushback. We don't have the support from the surrounding communities as we should. We have some support, we just don't have all of it. I wish that people would understand that we're not about ourselves, we're about everybody. Water, you can control the environment. You can control the people. Without water, the people have nothing. You can't live without water. We didn't. They didn't have any other drinks back in the days. They only had water. So they figured they could take the water away. They could take the people away. The people had to follow the water, so they made the water go as far as possible to keep them away from the land that they wanted. It's all about control. They wanted to be able to control everything, and that's what they did.
Um, Christina Gonzalez Cacti Chumashino. So my name is Christina Gonzalez, and I am Chumash from Ventura, and I have been working for Tachi for over 3 years, and I take care of the baskets, and I do a lot of their NAGPRA work, so repatriation and consultation. So, my family moved to Tulare County in the 1930s, 1940s. So, being an ocean person and my traditional villages, being the island, one of the islands, the Chumash Islands, we have, my family, we have a traditional historical relationship with water. And being in the Central Valley, we have a lot of waterways, we have a lot of rivers, we have a lot of streams. And so that's important to not only animals and plants but people. We find water important. As far as Tulare Lake goes and my relationship, so traditionally I am Chumash, but more from the southern part. But in the northern part of Chumash territory would be, we're traditional neighbors, the Tachi and the Chumash people. So when we are traditional neighbors, that means we get together and we have gatherings where we would meet, and that would be at Tulare Lake, and that would be over there on our side. So we would be switching locations. We would be going back and forth. That also means we would probably be intermarrying. That also means we would be trading. And that is very evident. So we just assume this and we know this, but it's also really evident today because a lot of some of the songs that our Chumash people sing, they're actually Yokut songs, and we've actually kind of changed them a little bit. So that's some of the relationship that we have. And so, yeah, we've had a traditional relationship with the Yokuts people since forever. I see the lake just like baskets and everything else. These are all alive and they're all very much living and part of nature. And because colonization has really, well, not just colonization, but this evolution of where we live has just changed the landscape. So, the water's not naturally flowing into the lake. A lot of these things aren't really happening. And I think Mother Nature's kind of letting us know, like, that it needs to change because, the environment is also changing because the lake is not there, free flowing, and, the waters aren't able to come in. And so I'm really hoping that this body of water will stay alive here and not just sleep, but be here permanently. But if that's going to happen, the waterways need to change. The drainage, the waterways need to change. And the farmers, they also need to understand too that, like, geologically speaking, these farms are going to always get flooded. They're always going to get flooded because, a lake is supposed to be there, not the farms. I really hope it can just continue and to be there, and once you have the water there, a lot of it too is the health of the water. Like when you want to know a healthy environment, you look at the health of the water. And so the health of the water depends on the plants that are there growing. It depends on the animals that are there living. It depends on the other animals that are outside of the water coming. And it depends on people. And so once you have this, not only the lake, it touches everything else. So once you have the lake back, you're going to have the animals coming back. You're going to have those migrating birds coming back. You're going to have, the plants growing again. You're going to have everything, coming, the restoration of balance. So the Tulare Lake. So the Tulare Lake, it wasn't not necessary, and there were areas where it was deep, but there were also areas that were very shallow, and that's where the primarily where the tule grows, and so like in some of the historical pictures that we have, you'll see a lot of the tule marshes, and again, a lot of these areas, whether they're deep waters or they're marshlands, a lot of these have their own environmental things and plants that and animals that depend on these areas. These are also nesting. These are nesting areas, which is, when we gather tule, that's one of the things that we also take into consideration is the nesting times of certain birds that do nest in the tules. We got to make sure it's not their nesting time. So when we're gathering some of these things, And the Tulare Lake. So one of the things to think about is in this valley, and I'm not sure if Kenny or Nicole or if anybody's mentioned this, like we don't have big rocks. We don't have rocks here. There's certain things that just don't necessarily grow here, but we do have an abundance of tule, and tule is everywhere, whether it's in the sloughs or in the canals here. I don't know if you've noticed some of the canals, they have a lot of tule, and that's because its natural habitat is in these waters that are around here. And so with the tule, that is one of the materials that a lot of our local native people use. So in addition to some of the other basket material like sedge and bracken fern, and bracken fern is a traded in material because that grows at a higher elevation. But tule was one of the predominant things that people used along with wood. So like from old oak trees, some of the big knots that they had in it would be used for wooden bowls and stuff like that. So in the valley is very different than some of our other Yoku't areas because we don't have rocks. We don't have some of these primary basket materials. So we're going to be using tule, which is something that we did have a lot of. So our houses were made out of tule. Our baskets were made out of tule. Our boats were made out of tule. And tule is also considered like a pool noodle because it floats and it's kind of cushiony and styrofoamy, and it's something that is very handy, for the water and for baskets. And I was gonna say so. And there's different types of tule also. There's like a round tule, there's a triangular tule, and they have their own names. I'm not sure what the names are in Tachi. I think I know what they are in Wauchumni, but they have their own names too. There's 2 different types of tule. She means big water. So it'd be that was the name for their big water because this lake was so big. I know Kenny always says the exact. From my understanding, it was like 100 miles, and just like in when you go to the Great Lakes and some of those other places, you can't see to the other side, and so that's how big and how vast this water was, and that was just a lot of it. And again, it's natural. Place where it accumulated was here in the valley because it has that low point, and so that's where the water just accumulated. That's where you had a lot of the tule. The tule depends on a lot of that water. So before it became Tulare Lake, it was known as Lake Corcoran, and there was another lake. It was also known as, I can't remember what the other name is, and those are more like ancient, like prehistoric-y times. But as far as for native people goes, like we've been here like this entire time. And just the water over time because of climate, whether it's climate change now, which is more drastic than time over, hundreds and thousands of years of the lake being way bigger than this and getting to the Tulare Lake of where it was. So the lake has been asleep, and it came back. And as you know or may not know, It is one of the lowest parts of California, so it accumulates water. Water naturally accumulates in that area, geologically. Um, and that lake has been around since the beginning of time. There's actually an ancient, there was actually part of an ancient lake that was there. That was actually covered a lot of the Central Valley, and it was called Lake Corcoran. Um, and now it's just Tulare Lake. And when we had a lot of our colonizers that came into the valley, the lake was drained for farming and for agriculture. And a lot of the waterways were diverted from the lake. And so when the lake appeared, this is, of course, Mother Nature at work. And uh, the lake was then attempted to be emptied again by the farmers. But of course, you can't stop Mother Nature. So Mother Nature did its thing and was here visiting and telling everybody that, of course, the lake is still alive. And no matter what people think they have the power to do, they really don't.
We try to put some plant natural native plants in the lake area. They didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that we were doing that. But the way it made us feel like we had hope. There's hope that we can bring back something that was taken. That was put to sleep. And it's not for us. It's not for us today. It's for the future generations later down in the road. 50 years from now. That's what we're looking at. 50 years from now. Today, if the lake came back, it's not going to really do us any good. It's going to do good for the environment, the air, and make the temperatures better. But 50 years from now, the water will be replenished in the ground. The aquifers will now have water in them to help sustain the life in the future. That's what we look for. It's no longer about us, it's about the future.
I hope the lake comes back and it stays. The wildlife that was once here, the history, just everything about it. I want it to be back, and hopefully one day, our fight is successful in bringing it back. Um, Everything that about it, has a special place to us Native people, and with it being back, I think that would be really exciting for all of us.
It would be nice to have that lake back, to be able to do our ceremonies there around the lake, to be able to bring back some of the stuff, culture that we did before, and show the new generations to help them understand where we come from and how we survived before this society that we have in front of us.
Water is life. That's where our people resided. That's where a lot of the ancestors, lived along. Where the water was, that's where the life was. And I think that's what the connection is.